Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about Red Komodo Dragon 6K camera. So let's dive right into it. Well, first, what exactly we are talking about? We are talking about a mini cinema camera. So cinema cameras are generally huge, as in freaking huge, as in if you put those camera on your normal tripod, your tripod is dead. So they are trying to make it small. Now Alexa also did that. There is Alexa Mini. Now thankfully that became quite successful. So more and more people are using the mini one rather than the full size one. So Red is also trying to chime into that trend, so to say. Now this offering, as in like how much it's gonna cost, the target price should be around above 6K and below 8K at this point, because it's not actually in the market, and due to the fact that world ended in 2020, the pricing could fluctuate a lot. So but still, even with all the current data point, it would be one of the cheapest offering from Red. So that's a very unique thing that will allow more people to jump into the system, and once you're in the system, you're stuck in the system. So that's a very big gamble from Red side. Now the selling point of this Red camera is it's very easy to use, because you have to know cinema camera is kind of engineering tool. You're supposed to know a guy who's gonna, like, whose sole job is, I'm gonna operate the camera. Like, what do you do in life? I'm a camera operator. That's all I do. Like, I take care of the camera, I take care of the file sizes. Like, that's my job. But again, that's not suitable for, like, YouTube or low budget Netflix or low budget some national. There are many regional Netflix alternatives. They don't have that kind of budget where they're gonna be like, okay, one guy just for camera. So this is very easy to use, and they have accomplished this by integrating many things like buttons, screens, battery slots. All those things are integrated. So it's a very finely tuned hardware that is made for basically small budget. So if you don't have too much money but you want the red color science and all that jazz, awesome. So that's the selling point of this. Now, why the heck Red is making this? Reality is small scale video is on the rise at this point in time. It does not matter. Not every video ever made by a professional goes into cinema or TV. You have to understand, professional simply means one thing. Are you making a living out of it? So let's say, for example, I'm making YouTube videos and I'm feeding my family based on the income I'm getting from this. This makes me a professional. So whatever equipment I'm using is tangibly doing a professional equipment's job. So that market, basically from YouTube, Netflix to many other alternatives, from Disney to Amazon to all of these low budget, which does not have the end game kind of budget where they're like, go YOLO on the money. Those kind of environment is growing and rapidly. And the fact that world ended in 2020, specifically for Hollywood, there's a very good chance that cinema world may never return to the old ways, because more and more movies are directly being released to home. So that small budget, basically small scale video market, that's growing. And there is a whole world of corporate shootings where the video footage, you never see it. It's never on any media. It's just like, from one company to another company and all that jazz kind of things happen. And it's a big industry. It's like many people are making their livings out of it. So that market is huge. Now, because that market is huge, there are a lot of companies that are capitalizing on that. For example, Zcam E2, quite small, quite nimble camera, specifically built for that kind of niche market, very powerful. Blackmagic have a huge cinema camera, but they are like, hey, Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera, and many people are jumping on that for YouTube, for short stories, short movies, lightweight TV shows, and all that. Just like, not every Tom, Dick, and Harry needs Alexa 65mm. So that small scale market is huge enough that enough company are pouring enough money and making profit out of that. Even Sigma tried to jump into that with Sigma FP. So it's big. And online streaming market, why you may, it's not real world, does not matter. If people are making money out of it, it's real and it's big, and Red knows this. So what is the pros of this system? Well, one thing that alone, flat out, it's a USP that no other camera can even come close to touching this, is global shutter. Now why does that matter? Think of this way. Global shutter removes basically rolling shutter. You will not have rolling shutter. Now every other camera, for example, like the big discussion was, is Canon has a lower rolling shutter or Sony has. Here's the reality, both of them have low rolling shutter. This has no rolling shutter. You don't have to think about it, and that is beneficial in many ways. Like, specifically if you are doing any shoot where you're gonna move the camera like there is no tomorrow, for like you take a kind of scenario where you're gonna move the camera like there's no, in those sort of scenario you will easily see, hey, that's a jello, that's like digitally if you're lucky, that's how people will describe it. If you're unlucky, dude, that gave me headache, or like that felt vomit inducing, because rolling shutter is really prominent if you're moving the camera. But again, if you're doing like talking head kind of scenario, interviews, or like basically if your camera is steady, that does not make too much of a difference. And modern sensors are huge enough, and high read speed is fast enough, that does not make too much of a difference. But if you are in a scenario where you're gonna make a crash cam, your camera is gonna move. If you're gonna put a camera on a gimbal, your camera is gonna move. So in those sort of scenario, you need global shutter, and global shutter has been faded out of existence simply because global shutter is done by having a pixel size, having a tiny capacitor exactly on that pixel. Per pixel has a tiny capacitor, and that capacitor stores the electrical charge, and then a sensor reads it. So it's still reading one way, but capacitor storage happened on the same unit time. So global shutter is quite awesome, but does reduces image performance. That's why people were not using it. So Red is like, okay, we got this. That's their unique selling point. And for many people who have a run and gun kind of scenario, they're like, dude, I don't give a damn about anything else, just give me that flat out. That alone will sell a lot. Another aspect, they went with Canon, and they are like actual talking, like proper official handshake and all that jazz. So they are dealing with Canon R mount. Now this is interesting. There are other cinema cameras that have Canon EF mount, basically old DSLR system. This puppy has R mount. That's awesome, simply because R mount fundamentally is a mirrorless system, so it gives you a lot of advantage of Canon's newer lenses, and does allow you to mount any Tom, Dick and Harry thing in terms of EF lenses. So EF lens, you can mount anything you have. R lenses, so you get two independent lens lineup, and because of that flange gap, you can have let's say, for example, there is already a manufacturer that is releasing ND filters, which is necessary for video mode, video shooting and all that. So awesome. So that R mount is really good. Then because they already had in talk with Canon, they are also using Canon battery. That's why I specified, like Red cameras, many times people are, oh, it's not that bad, it's only $40,000. It's like, wait a minute, the screen is how much? Wait a minute, the cable that allows me to connect one screen to like basic camera body to the screen is how much? So there are a lot of gotcha in this. It's not. So Canon lenses, Canon battery, so you can literally have one guy who sells you Red camera and another guy who sells you Canon equipment. So that's awesome. Like less component who high you have, the more efficient your experience would be. And it has autofocus. Whoa. For a cinema camera to even dare touch autofocus, it does require some pretty serious pause. And flat out, every Tom, Dick and Harry is coming, it's better than Panasonic. Now I do not understand whether that means supposed to be good or it's supposed to be. Now is it good enough where you can trust it? For talking heads, yes. Like for what I'm doing, yes. But if you start to move around a lot, you're like a lot of high energy potato jet kind of thing, no, it's not there yet. And not to mention, the company, as in Red itself, is saying we are working on that, because right now you can put R mount, it will not work. It does not have the ability to communicate. The basically firmware, they are still working on it. It's beta series right now. So autofocus is there. For EF lenses, it's there, it's working, but it's not something where it's like compared to Canon or compared to Sony. Don't think of that. It's like, it's better than anything else, but not that good where you like close your eyes, trust the system. It's not there yet. Now it's because it's a small camera, and they Red wanted it to be a system where people just buy it and use it. They had made sure the basically wireless integration is really good on this, so you don't need to buy a monitor. You can buy the monitor and connect it, awesome, no problem, but you don't need to. You can do a lot of things with a tablet. For example, let's say you really want a large screen for forming and all that, framing and all that, you can utilize that. It's quite awesome. Like they've went in you can even control the focus of an autofocus motor from a mobile system. It's mind-bogglingly well built, and it has a Red logo. Why does that matter? That matters because if you are in California, if every other Tom, Dick and Harry has a Red camera, that means having a Red camera guarantees you, hey dude, do you have a card reader for Red camera? I got it. Do you have equipment for Red cameras? I have it. Do you know how to handle Red camera footage? I know. So that reality is a very big thing, and that happens in every world also. Like for example, wedding shooters, or why do they buy either Canon or Nikon? Reality is Fuji is not everywhere. Like I live in a small Indian town, and reality is there is no Fuji. Like no Fuji. Even if I say Panasonic, people like Panasonic means fridge, right? Like fridge, air conditioner, all that. Those are available, but cameras is like Panasonic makes camera. It's not common. But Sony, because you have to know, market share wise, Canon is the biggest, 45% market share. Second number is Sony right now. Third number is Nikon. So Sony is slowly reaching a point where they're like, okay, you have Sony battery, you can buy another battery right from the market in case your charger fails or battery fails or you need something, you can go there. So Red is like that for cinema industry, California specifically. Like every other place has Red equipment, every other place knows how to deal with the Red equipment. That's a useful system. That same happens for Alexa, but again, it's a bit more high. Your pocket has a very serious depth to it. So the Red logo, for many people, that alone is like, dude, I can get almost everything that I want to out of this in Blackmagic, but nobody takes it seriously. They will pay more for basically Red logo itself. on and global shutter, because Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K has really bad rolling shutter. So what are the cons of this? Well, Red Ego or Red Tax, as many people say, it has single system. Flat out in their lineup, you do not possess the ability to do redundant recording. And you might say, oh, they use proprietary, it never breaks down. First, you must be stupid if you think that, because every electrical equipment falls. Like heck, satellite equipments have backup equipment built into them to make sure that happens. Like NASA's equipment, main gyro failed, go to backup gyro. Why the heck they have backup gyro? They're building ruby crystals in gyroscopes, but why they have that? Things fail. It's normal. That's why every server, every military grade equipment is like, do you have redundancy? How much redundancy you have? So having a single signal, and in a crash cam, there is a serious risk you could mess things up. What is the probability two of them will fail at the exact same time? Almost zero. Not absolute zero, but very close to zero. That's why dual card slot is important. Now they cannot give it. Like even if there was an engineer, it's like, dude, I think we can fit two card slots here and deal with the electronics and power draw. They're like, no, you can't do that because their big ones don't have that. So that's a very serious thing. Now again, for many people, they learn to live with it. Is that like every shot they're gonna do, they figured it out in such a way that they're gonna do double takes, triple takes, and there will be a DP who will try to keep dumping the data directly to a server as quickly as possible. So there are workarounds, but it's like, why? But the fundamental problem is like, why the heck they are using CFast? CFast was a flop system. It literally, Compact Flash Association is like, dude, it's not selling, nobody's taking this, and we have to maintain this puppy. So they went with Sony, they got married together, and Sony sell their XQD department, and Compact Flash sold their protocol department, and both of them created a baby known as Compact Flash Express. Now this puppy runs on a different algorithm. All Red cameras uses SATA 3 as an interface. CFast cards are SATA 3, so they don't have to do electrically, they have to physically change the system, but not electrically. It's awesome. But it's slow inherently. Let's say you can only record around 30 minutes for around 512 GB card. So yeah, huge files. It's a cinema camera, it's a huge file. You try to take it out, try to dump it in your computer, it's 600 Mbps at best case scenario. Now imagine you had CFast Express. Again, write speed would not be too much, but read would be. So that means if you pull out the card, put it in your computer, you can easily do 3 times the basically you can dump the card into your main editing suite, dump the card into backups, much 3 times quicker, and time matters. So utilizing a better technology is a good idea. Another aspect of Compact Flash card is slowly starting to take roots. Panasonics are using them, SanDisk is making them, basically AV Media is also making them, Sony is making them, and basically Panasonic, Canon, Nikon, all 3 companies are using it right now. So you can buy them, it's a real thing. Compact Flash card was not that successful, so that's kind of odd. It's like slow and outdated media. It's like, why? I'm pretty sure it was just an electrical discussion. It's like, do you want to re-engineer a PCI Express bus, or do you want to just reuse the SATA bus? They're like, yeah, just go with SATA. So that's there. Now another aspect for many people who are jumping up from other things like basically Canon cameras, Sony cameras, lower end, mirrorless or DSLR, they will find it odd that the moment you start to lower down the resolution, let's say for some example, you just want to do a trial run, or like, client is not paying you that much. It's like, dude, I'm not gonna deal with 4K files, just let me shoot in 2K, aka full HD. It's gonna crop it because it does not have processor powerful enough where it's gonna take like how Sony does or how Canon does, where like take the large image, compress it down, and then give you the file. It's not gonna do that. So your field of view will change. So it's not full frame, it's like a Super 35 aka APS-C sensor, and then if you went into lower resolution, flat out, it will crop a lot. Now that's not an issue for Red users because all Red cameras does that, so that's not an issue for Red user. But for people who are going from bottom up, they'll find like, what the hell, why the heck I gave up this feature? So that could be annoying. Another aspect is Red camera is known for resolution and frame rates. They never skimp out on frame rate, but in this puppy it's not that good. Like, people are not complaining because again it's a cheap camera and like small camera, so people are understanding. But if you wanted 4K 120 frames per second, it's not gonna give you. Like, you have to go to 2K, which not only resolution drop, it also crops it. So you are dropping the resolution while you are cropping the sensor, so it's like a double whammy. So for many people, that low frame rate, especially people who do music videos and all that, many times they're like, dude, we need high frame rates, flat out we need high frame rate, so they may not touch this. These two are like a genuine odd factors. Now, point of diminishing return. My whole last video was specifically focused on that point of diminishing return. The amount of money you are spending versus the amount of quality you are getting, it's not that drastic, especially at higher ends. So you do right now, like let's say you are a starter and you want to do wedding and you're not in a scenario where red logo means too much to you. Getting, let's say for example, Sony A7S Mark III would be much better to you. First, it has depth of field of a full frame sensor, which you cannot replicate in this unless you use a lot of speed boosters. So fundamentally, that's a serious limitation. Another aspect, low light performance is better. It does not have the color richness. So you have to pay someone like for example colorist to like either make a custom LUT or like fine tune it, which is not a big deal for many studios simply because they do it anyway. They have to do it anyway because each lens has a different setup, each lighting requires a different kind of touch to it. So if you're gonna do that, utilizing a cheaper camera may not be such a bad deal. And not to mention, it's commonly done in Hollywood because many times they have, like, even if you check into Netflix own guidelines, they're like 90% of footage should be primary camera and 10% you can go down in the, let's say you want to do crash cam, underwater camera, you're not gonna dunk your like RELX 65mm on underwater unless you have like a really huge submarine for it. So reality is that quality, like, is it as good as this? Hell no, flat out no. Now how close it is, now that's the interesting part. That means in double blind test most people will not able to tell. There's no longer, like, that's why I specified point of diminishing return. Like movies were only mastered still recently only mastered in 2K. So this puppy is like 4K. It's like, bro, I got this, more than good enough. Like right now, even in 2020, only few movies actually go through full 6K pipeline. Very few do that. So having a camera like this, saving basically 50% of money that you can spend on lens, lighting, audio equipment, batteries, all that will be a much wiser investment. Now again, if you are coming from top down, like you have a red camera, you want to have red B cameras, awesome, super awesome. You're gonna need red equipments and all that, awesome. But not for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. So yes, you can utilize this for YouTube and vlogging and all that, but Sony would be better. And not to mention, that really is annoying. Like, why the heck you are using an outdated format? So this was my presentation on Red Komodo 6K camera. Hopefully you liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me your disappointment. Please leave a comment because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.